He is a friend of this show. He is a friend of Honda, which makes him even more of a friend of this show. And he is a man who scored as many points as Clemson as everybody else on this show in the national semifinal this year. He is Graham Rahal. Good to see you, Graham.
You too, man. Congrats on Honda. I saw that. I didn't even think about it. I saw it coming in here. It was awesome.
I don't know what has more Honda logos on it, your shirt or our wall out there or this studio or everything else.
I think you got us beat. But no, it's great to be here. Appreciate you having me back.
Well, speaking of thinking guys that had you beat, let's talk about the Michigan-Ohio State game.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, 4th down. Let's be honest.
He's past the line, man.
Which line?
Well, hold on a second.
Which line?
First of all, if our field goal kicker could have just, even against Clemson,
yes,
could have made stuff that he made all season long, we wouldn't even had to go to OT.
Right. That's true.
But the pressure of the situation.
And if Michigan didn't make all those mistakes, there would have been a no overtime either.
True.
Understood. The question.
But ultimately,
right.
I was not comfortable, and I'm sure you weren't either.
No.
And it was a good game. I don't know. But I wish that both would have just performed better. You know, I was really hoping you guys can beat Florida State, right? It was against FSU. I had you picked, which it's not. You know, it's really not in my blood. It's not like in me to pick Michigan to beat anybody, and I had you picked and got disappointed.
Other than a quarterback, if you could have picked 2 players to remove from the Michigan team that could have hurt them the most, Jabril Peppers and Jake Butt would have been 2 that I would have chosen off the top of the list. And those guys, one didn't even get dressed, and the other one, obviously,
Jake Butt.
You know,
I think Jake Butt, he has more of an influence than Pepper. I know Peppers is a good athlete or whatever, but he can be neutralized somewhat. Jake Butt, and what kills me about him is he's a Central Ohio guy who never got an offer from Ohio State to go play there, and he's unbelievably talented. And I mean, I think he's going to be a heck of a pro.
Well, he's going to be at the Combine next week. I'm looking forward to seeing him because he's going to go through everything else other than the drills because he blew his knee out in that game. I know that. And, that's one of the many reasons why I like having these conversations with you. You're so honest and you put it out there. So my question for you is, just so you could be completely honest, is how much did you pay the referees to ref that game against Michigan? How much you as an Ohio guy?
No,
isn't there like some sort of isn't there some sort of slush fund in the state of Ohio that all the Ohio people put together? You know,
okay, I'm not going to lie to you.
One guy can slap another guy in the butt.
When I saw it, I was shaking.
What?
I was shaking. Watching the 4th down, watching the play, going for it. But look, I mean, I guess Urban he wanted to go for it all.
Well, Urban was making some crazy moves in that game, fake punts.
Well, what's funny is I had been texting a buddy of mine who works there.
Okay.
We'll leave names out of it, like a few months before. And I said, dude, like we need an offensive coordinator like bad. And it's not that I was against him, but that team had so much ridiculous talent. And yet you're struggling to put up points against teams that you should blow out. And they look lost. They look confused, 90% of the time. And so ultimately, probably that and then Clemson helped us. At least we got Wilson. And Wilson can put up, he's interesting character maybe, but he's going to put up some points with the athletes that Ohio State has. I mean, he did it at Indiana and didn't have the players that he's going to have now. But I guess the key is really an OC that can stand up to Urban, because Urban, he's not supposed to be calling the plays, I guess, but he likes to. And apparently, like Tom Herman's strength was just getting Urban to stay out of it. And here, I'm doing this, I'm making the calls. And last year, it seemed like there was a ton of confusion. And you're right, fake punts and going for it on 4th down. I don't know. There was a lot of times that I was pretty nervous. But look, last I checked in the history books, it says Ohio State won. So we're going to stick with that.
No, I know that. And I'm just having my fun here. I don't have much of a leg to stand on in terms of the win-loss record. These guys want to get to my avatar because I
took good.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because I thought it looked good too.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
It was fuzzy. The image was fuzzy.
He really skirted the spirit of the bet here.
Rahal said, if Michigan lost, I would have to put an avatar on my Twitter feed wearing the Ohio State gear that he provided. And I did that.
Yeah, so what did you want to see better? What did you guys want to see better?
Well, he was 75 feet away from the camera.
Exactly. And it was fuzzy. But what was more powerful or impactful for me was the pain that I knew he was feeling versus the actual being on social media.
I respect that.
But I also put it on television.
The jersey is super tight.
By the way,
the jersey is a little tight, but that's all right.
You want to put a jersey on and see how it goes? I sound like Sap.
Put a jersey on?
At Mike Sherman.
Yeah,
put a jersey
on.
I feel like that.
No, my team didn't lose. I didn't make the bet. I didn't lose, and I didn't half welch on the bet.
Your team's not even. Did I have you? Now you were the guy in charge of the bet. Did I welch on it?
I thought it was fine.
Now let me ask you this question: when you were here and we had the bet, did you say, and was it part of the bet that I would have to do it, put the clothes on television? And have it shot.
No, but you know what?
No, so there are screen grabs everywhere. They just roll the video in right here of me looking like I'm miserable.
So, but for the next bet, which I'm not,
do not just in fact destroy this B-roll.
I'm not prepared to make a bet today, so we're gonna have to reschedule.
Hold on,
but
Michigan has 14 players at the combine.
On the next bet, and now I know that I'm gonna have to include the TV aspect to this whole thing.
Yes.
So I'm learning as I go here. This is all a bit of a new process.
Let's do something smaller.
Why, are you nervous?
No. No. You're the one who's like, I'm not prepared to do this. You need to see how Indiana's coach who got fired.
I've not had enough time to think about
OC. Okay, now how about this?
What would be good?
Michigan does have 14 guys at the combine.
Yeah.
Not all of them are going to get drafted. You guys had an incredible draft last year.
Yeah.
Okay, and have as loaded. You're as loaded a program. Urban is as great as they come, sending guys to the next level, right? How about you want to put a little something on who gets more drafted players
this year?
Yeah.
Well, I'd hope you guys, because we don't have that many gone.
I have an idea to weight this.
Ohio State has 8 players attending the combine. Michigan has 14.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Who has the higher draft pick?
Well, I was going to say,
Ohio State will have the higher draft pick.
Hooker might even go,
in the top
second?
I would say top 5. Yeah. Hooker, that guy's he is crazy good. And Lattimore, they're saying he's going to go
add up the round of everyone selected, lowest total wins.
But speaking of the combine, I got to tell you something. I know it's going to disappoint you. I was working hard.
Great setup, by the way.
I was working hard to surprise you, and thanks to I don't know who shipped it, like what company, but I have $100 Steak and Shake gift card for you, and I know at the combine you want to eat there every night, so I'm gonna send it to you. It didn't make it this morning. We had it all scheduled. The guys back in Indy had shipped it to me.
Okay, and
it didn't appear on my doorstep. But we're gonna get that for you before you go to the combine, so that you can at least have some good eats while you're out there.
Again, we have seen Dick LeBeau hanging out there at 1:30 in the morning. One of my favorite memories of covering the combine was Mariucci. Everyone was there like 12:30, 1 in the morning with the NFL Network. Mariucci wanted everybody out and about, so we did it. I think it might have been after an Oscar party night.
Yeah, this was 2010. I think it was my first.
And so Mooch bought like something where you get an extra glass, you got like a glass, a Steak and Shake glass with your meal or whatever. So you got like 20 of them. Got 20 of them. Just passing them out to a bunch of NFL Network. Had a couple extra. And Wade Phillips came over and asked, would you mind if I got one of your extras?
Would you mind if I take one?
I'm telling you, like, this is the spot to see coaches. It's unbelievable.
Well, $100 to take you a long way at Steak and Shake. So now you'll be able to be the big man and buy everybody.
Hey, everybody. Mooch. Now, Mooch.
So, sorry about that.
It'll be great.
We tried to make it happen.
I want to take a break. I want to talk with you, obviously, about your racing season that's going to start in just a couple of weeks' time. The Daytona 500s this weekend. I know that's not your bailiwick, but I do want to touch upon that with you and just have a little bit more fun with you, Graham.
Sounds good.
Graham Rahal here. We'll talk with him in 66 the clock here on the Rich Eisen Show. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. The Honda Classic in its 36th year, the longest held tournament sponsorship on the PGA Tour. Graham Rahal, you teed it up once again?
We played a couple days ago, and it was fun. Unfortunately, the rain
came
hit
down
us pretty hard. So I was in the Pro-Am, and I was playing with Smiley Kaufman, one of the young guys, and it was a blast. We had a great time, and it's unfortunate we got about 4 holes in, but I was actually hitting it pretty good, so it would have been nice to finish off. But it's great to go down there, the Honda Classic every year. I mean, I've been down, 4 or 5 times, and
you played with Ricky Fowler, right?
I played with Ricky and Nick Price, Camilo Villegas. Nick Price was awesome, because as a kid growing up, Nick Price and those guys were legends at the time.
Did Camilo get down for his putts? You know how he gets down low to line up his putts?
Camilo?
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't do that with us.
He didn't? No?
He didn't do that with us. But we actually did win the tournament with Nick Price and Camilo. Won it twice.
No kidding.
But there's normally there'd be like 4 Honda dealers or, personnel and then a pro. And so I say we, it's not like 2 of us won this. There's a lot of guys that play in it.
Hey, look.
But it's a lot of fun. And it's crazy. I was looking at that tournament has given over something like $34 million to charity in South Florida in its time, with Barbara and Jack Nicklaus obviously kind of spearheading the whole thing. But it's unbelievable the impact that they have. Okay, it's been 30 years, but you got to think in recent times are raising most of the money, right?
Yeah,
so
it's great.
It's pretty cool.
Don't sell yourself short on winning a championship, and it's others. Don't forget the day Michael Jordan scored 55 in the Garden. Michael Jordan and Luke Longley combined for 55 points at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, combined.
Don't forget. Don't forget.
Luke Longley not in the Hall of Fame.
Although
nice.
Although with my handicap and index, you do get strokes. And the other day on the second hole hit a 40-footer for birdie, which I stroked in that hole, so it was a 2, so I got an eagle. So
you're a factor.
Through 4 holes, we were 4 under.
You're a factor.
So I was like,
and by the way, at that point in time in a program, your pressure's off rest of the day.
It is.
Rest of the day.
That's exactly how I felt. My first drive, we started on the back nine, 10th tee, decent little crowd.
Yeah.
Not obviously for us, but still, you're shaking,
Yeah.
And I stripe it right down the middle. And at that point, I thought, I'm good.
You're good.
I played my ball first hole.
Yeah.
I'm good. I don't need to contribute anymore the rest of the day. I'm happy.
You're in Margaritaville at that point in time. Would you ever want to be? I'm with Graham Rahal here in the Rich Eisen Show. Would you ever want to race in the Daytona 500? Would you want to do that?
I'm not so sure. I mean, it's always interesting for me to see, and I know a lot of those guys there. And I was down there last weekend. My wife Courtney was doing something down there, and so I went down. I know Dale Jr. pretty well, and Jimmy Johnson, a lot of those guys, and it was interesting going there and seeing the cars, and they are a lot safer today than they were just a handful of years ago, and that was nice. And I think a lot of that technology has come from IndyCar, so I'd feel better. People think I'm crazy saying this coming from an open wheel, open cockpit car, and talking about something that's got a roof over your head not being as safe, but they've done a lot that was a little bit more interesting to me. But honestly, I grew up in IndyCar racing. I love IndyCar racing, and for me, there's really nothing else that's ever interests me. But you never say never. That's one thing I've learned in my time is you never say never. And if an opportunity comes up, the one thing I know about NASCAR is due to the physicality of it, you can, versus IndyCar, which is much more physical, you can do it longer. And so who knows, maybe when the IndyCar career is over, you go try it out or something. But those guys work hard. I mean, those guys on the road 36 weekends a year. And
Danica Patrick this week said that she had how many concussions? A dozen? Isn't that what she said? She did 12. A dozen concussions in her career.
Well, that seems like a lot. Because if anything, the one thing I will absolutely give Danica credit of, when she was in IndyCar race in particular, is okay, she may not have ever been the fastest person, but she was always very consistent. She didn't crash very much. So to say she's had a dozen, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know I've had a couple hard ones, but with IndyCar, what we do a lot, Dr. Terry Trammell, who is world-renowned, and Jeff Horton, we do a lot with safety. They measure, we wear like accelerometers in our ears, so if we take an impact, it will turn on a light within the car that will say, okay, the head's taken an impact more than 40 G's or whatever it may be.
How does it fit in your ear? Seriously, I mean.
We use earpieces, like you have right now, but they'd be molded for the radio when we talk. And they put these little accelerometers in those pieces. And so when the safety crew gets to us, they already know whether this guy or gal's got a risk of a concussion, head injury, or anything before maybe we would even. And so they're very aware of all of that stuff. We have accelerometers through the entire car. We work with a lot of foam and padding and stuff that I'm sure you're even going to see in football, inside football helmets.
I was just about to say, why? I mean, obviously, the idea of playing football is not to put an earpiece in somebody's head, but certainly since the frequency might be used to actually circumvent rules at some point in time about getting a play in or anything like that.
We just did this new testing with Dr. Trammell. He's been developing with the military, which is like you wear these goggles, which is goofy looking, but it scans your retinas. And so,
like RoboCop,
the way that the
Great
NFL
analogy,
used to
Rich.
do it is standing on one leg, other leg, whatever. We used to do all these tests, close your eyes, and then do an impact test to get a baseline. Well, this new system, you put on these goggles and it looks into your retinas, and then it has you track it. And through this process, they would tell if you have a concussion immediately. There's no tricking the system. When you're asking somebody questions to see if they have a concussion, it's pretty easy to just answer
lie, yeah.
and maybe trick the doc or whoever is asking you. In this case, with this new technology, you really can't trick the system. I mean, it's looking right into you.
So what happens? They take you out of the cockpit if this happens in the middle of a race. You're out. It's over.
Well, in the middle of the race, they would only test you if you had an impact, right? I mean, it would normally be post-race, and at the beginning of the year, they would do it to get a baseline to know how quick you respond anyway.
Right.
When they know you're not concussed. But yeah, they would make you sit out. They'd make you sit out. Dale Jr. has been a great spokesman for this, and I know Dale well, and I stayed in contact with him all last year. But I think he really brought even more light to the situation. Obviously, that movie Concussion with Will Smith did a lot from a football standpoint. But I think Dale kind of being that star that he is and speaking about it will help us all a lot.
Graham Rahal here on the Rich Eisen Show. Where's Letterman these days? How much contact you have with David?
I hear from Dave quite a bit, actually. We're probably going to see him here soon because St. Pete, our first race in the Verizon IndyCar Series is in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, actually, we open up in the Grand Prix of St. Pete. And Dave will be down there, I'm sure.
What are your conversations with him like?
It's always racing in general. Although, I had a chance to sit with him last fall. We were at our race in Watkins Glen. And we didn't have a ton of sponsors there or anything, so I kind of got a little more time to sit with him one-on-one before the race. And I started asking him, just questions about life and how he was feeling. And so that was the first time I ever saw like an in-depth kind of side of Dave, because normally he shows up to the races, he comes in quick, does this kind of stuff that he needs to do with us, says hi to all the sponsors, meet and greets, watches the race, and then gone because he'd have to film the show. Well, now he's, obviously there's no show to film, so he has a little more time to be with us, which is cool. And he's a great guy. And let me tell you, he is crazy, extremely passionate about IndyCar racing, and in particular the Indy 500. Earlier, you guys were talking about the Masters and everything else.
Yeah.
I know it's not spring really in May, but a bucket list item, I'm telling you, is
the Indy 500.
Indy 500 is as good. It's I'm biased, but I tell you, it's better than anything I've ever experienced from a fan standpoint before I raced and now racing. So that's one you got to check out.
So you're saying Letterman right now, which you're right. I mean, Indy 500 is a quintessential American event as well.
It's insane.
Certainly on the weekend in which it's raced as well.
Yeah.
But you're saying Letterman is more relaxed. He's more.
See, it seems to be
chill.
For us, he's way more involved. So whether it be sponsors like Steak and Shake, United Rentals, Hyatt, like all these brands that we work with, he used to not be, if we asked him, hey, Dave, we need you to come to a sponsored dinner. There really wasn't time for him to do it. It's not that he didn't want to, but there wasn't time. And nowadays with our team, he shows up a lot. With United Rentals in particular, we do a thing called Turns for Troops. For every lap I complete, United Rentals donates $50 to charity, to Soldier Strong. And through Turns for Troops last year, we were able to afford and buy an exoskeleton suit for a paralyzed vet to walk again. Okay? And so Dave has been a huge part of this. And one of the, Sergeant Dan Rose, who's kind of the face of the program, Dave goes out, introduces him a lot. We go to big conventions, and that's a real soft spot for Dave in particular. But we see him being involved in stuff like that, whereas before, there wasn't really the ability, to do so. So that's been a lot of fun. I think our sponsors, new and old, I mean, as you know, and we talked about in racing, we rely solely on sponsors. We don't have sponsors, we don't go racing. And so, he has helped us a lot, because having David Letterman as part of your group is something that really nobody else can say, and so it's pretty cool. It's been great for us.
Graham Rahal of Rahal, Lanigan, Letterman Racing right here. So, and I know you're a sports fan, so the last one is, whose beard is longer, Harden's or Letterman's? What do you think?
I don't know. I haven't seen I haven't seen Dave, and
he's got. I mean,
it's big.
Like if you saw him in December, it's like Santa Claus.
He would look like Santa Claus. It's bigger than that. That's
shot right now. That was like last summer,
shirt.
I think.
That's awesome. Say volleyball of all things.
Yeah, this was I believe shot last summer. Made the rounds. Everyone's like, whoa. Okay.
But he has. It was interesting on my Facebook page a minute ago. I posted I was coming on, and I was scrolling back through old pictures, and there he is at the Indy 500 last year, and he had like a shaved head like that, and the beard was huge.
Yeah.
And I had a deal with him that if I won Indy, he had to shave, which he agreed to, but we didn't win. So I'm sure it's still growing, but I haven't.
Well, we put up the split screen on the screen right there.
Harden's
got him from that picture, but I think Letterman's grown it out a little.
I was going to say, I think Dave's a little bigger than that now. So I think let's give it to Dave.
No, why not?
Give one to the old
Letterman
guys.
For crying out loud. He's the man. You are too. Thanks for coming on, Graham. Love having you on. Anytime you're in Los Angeles, this home is yours. Certainly, we're brothers in Honda, if not obviously Big Ten football. Good
Absolutely.
to see you.
In Long Beach. Got to come to Long Beach this year.
I'd love to.
We'll make it happen. And Honda will put you in the 2-seater.
Okay.
And scare you a little bit. All right. Last year you sent T.O. We don't want T.O. We want you. You got to come out.
I'm in.
All right, man.
Good to see you. Graham Rahal, the season opener of the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg is on March the 12th on Sunday.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.